Where I first came into the industry, I had actually had my ex-wife got her involved in it as a sideline business. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, 93% of the business is done by 7% of us. So you got to be in that top 7% to really get a good part of market share. Being involved in the world of Keller Williams, which is an agent-centric company, built by agents, for agents, run by agents, that for me was a game changer. I hesitated making the move like most people do because if you haven't been to Mars, you don't know what life is like on Mars. So most people fear the unknown and don't want to embrace that change. But I was intrigued by the model. And when we attended family reunion, within 24 hours, I had texted back my now wife, and it basically said, this is a snowball at the top of a mountain. We either get behind it or we're going to get run over by it. Every business and every part of the real estate business is always phenomenally in flux. And what we do is be able to read those dreams and make those things work for everybody. So yeah, we're building lives and shortening people's growth cycles.
Welcome to the Top Real Estate Influencers podcast with your hosts, Mario Hurley and Alex Montalenti. Today we have a special guest, Barry Paley. Barry Paley, I know for a really long time. I mean, we're probably going back 18, 19, possibly 20 years. And on Long Island, I think I met you through Ryan Coyne, who's now the CTO over at Sirhan. And I met you, I think it was in Woodbury, right? Or Syosset or Jericho, one of these towns in Long Island.
Absolutely.
And I was instantly impressed with Barry because Barry had this tagline that he's a business person doing the business of real estate. That's the tagline, right, Barry?
It is. Yes, it is.
I still remember it after all those
years.
That's
awesome. That's a good tagline then, right?
Yeah, it hit me really hard because I had met a lot of realtors that weren't treating real estate as a business. They were treating it as a hobby. They were treating it as like a part-time gig, as something like, I'll sell a house here and there. I'll make some money. I'll feed my family or I'll support my family. But Barry was like, you know what? This is serious. If it's serious, I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to take it like a business. I'm going to treat it like a business. And no wonder Barry now is huge. He's huge at Keller Williams. Everybody knows him. He has market centers. He's taken over Long Island. And we want to really get into your head today and hear how this all happened. I got to witness it, but I really never got to hear like what's behind the scenes, what you dealt with, what the struggles were like, what were the challenges, what inspired you to do it. So Mario and I are going to dig in a little deeper today and see what we can uncover. Okay. And I also want to get in a little bit into the KW model because out of all the people I've met at KW, the only one that explained the model to me the best. And I think people want to know, what is that model?
Yeah, that'd be great. It's a perfect opportunity for me to share that. Actually, our history, Alex, is roughly 17 and change years, where I first came into the industry. I had actually had my ex-wife got her involved in it as a sideline business because unfortunately, or fortunately for us, 93% of the business is done by 7% of us. So, if you're looking to take it seriously, and intention, I think, is part of the secret sauce, right? You got to be in that top 7% to really get a good part of market share. But I kind of put her in there to, have something to do, keep busy. And I had always bought and sold properties prior to that. So from a point of view investing, I looked at it and I said, you know what, I'll get my license. I'll help you out. At the time, I was in the fashion industry. And I can tell you also that generally the formula when we're looking to hire, somebody has a background in fashion or came out of the apparel centers, it's a good hire. You don't have to go much further. There's some sort of parallel there. But anyway, so at that time I got my license and then I became one of my old firm's top producer. And for 13 years, I was, in my opinion, gaining knowledge and gaining experience, but basically in a broker-centric model versus an agent-centric model. And it's funny that you should start off with, hitting on my tagline, business people doing the business of real estate. But the difference between a broker-centric model and an agent-centric model is when you make the realization that you need to think like a CEO, you need to be a business person in the business of real estate. And when you make that mindset shift, it completely changes. Now, the one that is the most compatible with it, which has been my experience, and I'm certainly happy to speak on that further, was being involved in the world of Keller Williams, which is an agent-centric company built by agents, for agents, run by agents. Oh, I thought we nailed that. That for me was a game changer. So roughly back in 2016, I had heard of Keller Williams way back, maybe 11 years ago, then 8 years ago. And I hesitated making the move like most people do, because if you haven't been to Mars, you don't know what life is like on Mars. So most people fear the unknown,
Yeah.
change, and don't want to embrace that change. But I was intrigued by the model. And then somewhere around 2016, I was asked to attend a family reunion, which we have two major events. And when we attended family reunion, within 24 hours, I had texted back my now wife. We're married for about 5 years, and she's been with me on this whole journey. And so I texted her the following text after 24 hours of family reunion. And it basically said, this is a snowball at the top of a mountain. We either get behind it or we're going to get run over by it. And I saw the future for myself and for my team at Keller Williams, which is a company that endorses teams, supports teams. Number one in technology, number one in coaching, number one in education, number one happiest place to work for women. I mean, the accolades go on and on. We're the number one company in agent count, number one in dollar volume, and we have over 180,000 agents that we forage with that are in an ecosystem that we all thrive and flourish in. So
I just want to point out something, Barry.
yes,
It's amazing. We have to interrupt you because you're giving us so much information. We got to give our audience time to digest this. This is a lot.
sure, please do. Moderate away, brother.
One thing that I heard that's amazing is the fact that you actually, unlike a lot of men that I hear, you didn't just say, here, I'm doing this, you do whatever you want, I'll do what I'm doing. This is me, I'm a man, I'm gonna go pursue my dreams. Instead, you shared it with your partner, and she was in alignment with you, and my God, what a powerhouse. That became such a powerful, come on, talk to us about that.
Well, yeah, that's on the personal side. So my wife is now our full-time marketing director. And, in our business, and I think all of us can attest to it, my basic line to her was, in the nut house, how do you know who's really crazy? When the inmates are running the asylum, I said to her, in order for our relationship to last, I need to bring you into the insanity of what we do. And she welcomed the opportunity, came in, aligned herself with it. She's a very creative person. And on the creative side, she's really taken our marketing to a whole new level. As a matter of fact, and she and I started our own video company. So we have our own studio in the home. She's pretty much an icon in the Sony Vega and the Canva world. And she really stays pretty much state of the art. And our marketing, I think, is one of the things that sets us aside from other people. So that was a great mix. And additionally,
what did you say when you sent her that text? What was the response?
Her response was, whatever you say, babe. You're my Moses, you're my visionary, let's go for it.
See, that's beautiful. So many men wish their wives would talk to them that way.
Yeah. To this day, we taught over at another Keller Williams Market Center. When you talk about this ecosystem, you have to understand, even if you're very protective here and you go into a local broker here, a local brokerage, people put their hands over their desks. They shred papers so somebody else doesn't see it. Yeah. Our culture is an open culture. We're an open book company, and we're open book in everything that we do. Now, here's what's great. If I had a phenomenal listing presentation and somebody called me up from Denver and said, hey, Barry, I'd love to see your listing presentation. I'm all in. I'm all in here too, because that's the culture of the way I operate. And being an investor owner in my market center, I want to see everybody in my market center thrive. So we're pretty much open book. But ultimately, that ability to share that knowledge goes out. And if I want that in reciprocity, and I say to somebody, hey, we're developing our ISA or in-house sales associates, what's working for you? Can you imagine being able to do that with 180,000 people around the country in a non-threatening, non-competitive environment? That's a major boon. It's a major boon. And I will tell you this also, Alex, you asked about the journey. Probably somewhere between 40 to 45% of our business today is other agents, not just Keller, but other agents that look at the stats, don't just go by a popularity contest, but actually look at the stats and say, hey, I got a call. This is a great story. I got to tell you a great story. Okay, guys?
Yeah, please.
I got a call from an agent down in Florida. Barry, I looked up your stats. My grandparents have to sell their home here in Long Island. I would love if you would handle it for us. And of course, we took the listing or took the lead. She said, my dad is handling point on it. So I said, okay, great. So I spoke to dad, and dad is telling me, I got his last name, and I'm speaking with him, and he says, by the way, my mother, who's the daughter's grandmother, was pretty much an icon in the real estate world, no longer in the business. And I said, what's her name? And I go, oh no, wait a minute. I know her name because I knew the last name. And I said, well, I don't want to, give it up in the podcast, but
Sure.
So I go, oh my God, she sold me my first house in Brookville. So now I'm going on a listing presentation to someone who's out of the industry that sold me a house.
Wow.
And that was my first house 33 years ago when I first moved out to Long Island. So, after a while, again, that's the great thing about your sphere of influence. You own that for life. And in Keller Williams, our database is our data bank, and that's where we farm from. So it was kind of interesting that it went full cycle like that, but I just thought it was an interesting aside.
Absolutely. Not only that, but Barry, you know what also I hear in what you're saying? The culture of people partnering together, supporting each other, despite the distance or who's supposed to be the assigned agent. That's where you come in with the top producers, because they understand the value of building those long-term relationships.
Exactly. We just came back from Denver, by the way. We had a multi-purpose trip. It's on Facebook. Take a look at the video that we just did. But my stepson, his birthday was the end of July. So Hope and I hopped on a plane on a Thursday, got into town, took him out to dinner. Friday, we met and spoke with one of the most powerful operating partners in the entire Keller Williams world. There's 180,000 agents. We met with someone who owns a market center that was with Keller Williams when there were only 700 agents.
Wow.
So that's her tenure in there. She's an icon in the Colorado world. And then we went on Friday morning and met with her top 20% of her agents, and basically had a powerhouse meeting with them, because I'm taking a course on the road, which is basically called How to Be a Disruptor in Your Market and Your Market Center by leveraging your leads, whether you're a single solo agent or a team. So we kind of masterminded with them. We met with their top 20. We had a phenomenal session. And if you want to talk about dribbling out the secret sauce, we did that at a high level, going over a lot of things that we would not normally, but giving to them and giving in culture to them. And we were invited out by one of our referral partners there. But when I met Pam, the OP out in Denver, it was like we had been together for 100 years. And coincidentally, I think that's my alarm telling me that I'm supposed to be online with you. Let me shut it.
Okay.
But coincidentally, our stepson came with us, and don't you know, he actually wound up joining Pam's Market Center out there. He's now in class, and he'll be our 4th or 5th family member that's coming into the business. So talk about building a business, building lives worth living, leaving a legacy, and helping people grow. You can't ask for a better company or a better place to do. And of course, I'm slanted because you can't think of a better team to do it with.
Amazing. Is
That's
that something you always were interested in even before you got into real estate and building teams?
So it wasn't, I mean, again, I came out of the fashion world, and at one point in time, I had been in that since, I'm afraid to tell everybody how old I am. Since my first business, I started in '76. Most of you were not born. But in 2005, I went into real estate. And originally, when you work so hard from '76 to 2005, you're thinking, I'm going to leave my kids a legacy. Nobody wanted that business. The business wasn't replicable. Times changed. What's great about real estate is it's in a constant state of change. If you know how to fly and look at the field from 36,000 square feet, you can read the track marks before the moves, if you're astute. So where I thought I might have left them a business, now I'm leaving them a business and a legacy that they can work in. And I always compare real estate to golf. You can play it at any age for as long as you want. As long as you can stand up and walk, you can do real estate and you can do golf. So that's an analogy I often use. So yeah, I've been able to do that, bring them in. My son Luke is with us for about 7 or 8 years, phenomenal agent on his own right. Our administrative staff is family related as well. So it's a little bit of a family business, but open to it. And we're building big lives for everybody. As long as we can build an umbrella that everybody can maximize their lives under, then we're achieving our goal, and we're doing that. So now my younger son, who is in the culinary world, took a look at what's going on, and he just said, I give up, I'm in. So he's now head of our ISA.
That's crazy to think like 2005 is when you got in. So I mean, I really met you at the beginning.
Totally, yeah.
And I mean, you fast tracked it.
Well, hopefully we do, and that's one of the things that we think is an important component, Alex, also, because you know what we're doing? We're fast tracking it for people that didn't have that luxury. They're not going to have to spend 17 years. I have people on my team who, within 1 year, we took them as new agents from our showing agent program. We brought them in, we created a temporary relationship to help leverage our hire agents. And we then have the ability to look at them in this dating period we call a showing agent program, where we were able to look at them for 30 days, 60 days. And depending upon their attitude to a team, their culture, their skill set, their drive, and all of the components that we look for to find what a really good real estate agent is made of, I can fast track them in 30 days and bring them onto the team, or we continue to use them and leverage them, and they get real-time experience, make a couple of bucks. And so we're able to exponentially take that time that it took me out by sharing what we have, from situational coaching to actual coaching, systems, metrics. I mean, every business and every part of the real estate business is always phenomenally in flux. And what we do is be able to read those greens and make those things work for everybody. So yeah, we're building lives and shortening people's growth cycles.
Yeah, I mean, what I hear in all that is you walked into a brand with systems and processes and structures, basically, for people to grow on.
Models,
that's a lot
algorithms,
faster than going and trying to figure it out on your own, right? I mean, you take a model that's working, because I could see you were already taking off, but the second you hit KW, it was like, that's when it went hockey stick for you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And, Gary Keller, who's our visionary, says that anybody can change their life in 5 years, completely change their life in 5 years. Mine was completely changed in 3. It was rocketing in 4. And we just celebrated our really 4th anniversary with Keller Williams. And just in 2020, we had done $1 million in gross commission income. And we forecasted, because Gary Keller always tells us to think big. So for 2021, we projected that we would do $2 million in gross commission income. We did $2 million in gross commission income in 2021, helped 206 families, generated 87 million. And just my team alone was the #1 Keller Williams team in every Keller Williams Market Center in Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, and even the blackjack $100 tables, New York City. So we're pretty proud of that. And we're kind of proud of our mission because we're directly plugged into the customer service experience. We want everybody to feel they had a Ritz-Carlton experience with us. And that is our reputation, what we hang our hat on, and we're really intentional about it. But I have people that we've brought in, like I said, just new people, and they're flourishing within a year and doing, domino transactions. So it's exciting to be able to see that and make a difference.
I would say that, you're talking about customer experience and Ritz-Carlton experience, grinding your teeth on that on Long Island. I'm from Long Island, so I can say we are the biggest pain in the butt people. Right? So in Florida, they're kind of like, they're a little like laid back about stuff. But in New Yorkers know what they want, right? And they won't stop until they get what they want. So providing customer service.
I came into the house the other night, Alex, and was one of those, 18-hour days. And I walk in and I said, babe, we thought this market was crazy during the pandemic, right? Because why? It was a seller's market. The buyers knew the sellers were crazy, but they could get away with it, right? So the buyers did what they needed to do to deal with the crazy sellers. Now, the sellers still think it's a seller's market. The buyers think it's not a seller's market, and everybody's totally crazy across the board. So, what we do is a very unusual thing. I mean, what we do is we get someone that wants to buy at the low, someone that wants to sell at the high. We have to get those people on the same page, then get two attorneys not to destroy the deal, but make it happen, get through the lenders, get through the home inspectors, and get everybody to the closing table. And only then do we get compensated both financially and, more importantly, from a spiritual point of view, because we're helping people move on with their lives and being a major component in doing that. And every one of them, none of them are textbook. Everyone is a little bit of a different roller coaster ride, some smoother than the others. But we go through that turmoil and that angst with every single one of our clients. So although I did not have black hair when I started, but it was already gray.
And I like what you said earlier, Barry. You mentioned new people that come in within their first year, their opportunity for growth is tremendous. But you mentioned a couple of conditions.
Sure.
You said it takes something, it takes some specific qualities or specific mindset for people to thrive in your team. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll answer it in two parts. One is what it would take for them to thrive in either case, whether they're on a team or not, but specifically for the team, there are other qualities. I tell everybody that the difference between a mentor and a coach is that a coach will hold you accountable and pursue you and to commitments, etc. And I tell everybody, I do not have the time to coach you. I'm not here to wet nurse you. I'm here for the people that want to learn. And I got a great story on that. And that is that when we moved our offices, when I was with my prior brokerage, we moved our offices, and it had 5 offices in it in a row. And my people got there before me, but I had taken the corner office on the right. Okay. And one of the guys was in the second office to the left. And then when I come in, I see him pick up his stuff and move to the office next to me. And I said, what was wrong with the other office? And his answer was, I couldn't hear you. Right? So his game was, and the restaurant industry has a term for it called staging. But his basic thing was, I'm going to learn everything I can. I'm going to listen to everything you say, and I'm going to be able to mirror it. And what do we all do when we have conversations with clients, right? It's all about mirroring, right? You want to mirror the client so that you're on the same page. So it's got to be somebody that is self-motivated. So that's number one. You got to want it. This is not a business. This is not an easy business. It is not a layup. And if you're coming to a team because you think they're going to give you leads only, and you're not prepared to do everything it takes to convert that, no, then they're making a mistake. But I would say to you that the profile that we look for is self-starter, self-motivator, hungry, coachable from the point of mentoring, not necessarily coachable from the point of view of being held accountable. I want people to have their own accountability. And then people that are knowledge-based, people that have an understanding of their relationship. I tell my people, when you go to an open house and you're running an open house, you are on stage. You are being interviewed by everybody that walks through that door. And I can't tell you how many times we've actually converted people that came to an open house to suss out a realtor. Not that they were interested in the house, but to suss out the realtor, how they hold an open house, what they do, what their presence is there. Are they active? Are they engaging? Are they helpful? Are they too pushy? So ultimately, it's got to be a self-starter, totally motivated, hungry, knowledge-based, wants to grow. And then for us, they have to have a mindset of the fact that they would rather be a part of a team that can help them grow than just come and get what they can and leave. So we look for another mindset there where they can buy into a we, into an us, not into an I, me, or mine. And I remind my people all the time, this is your team. If I see somebody on my team that's not interactive on social media, I look at them and I go, what do you think you're endorsing me? This is about you. If you don't get that mindset, then you're defeating your purpose. So we're pretty strict about it. I mean, you don't always get all 10s across the board. But what we do is we work with people. If they're off and they're off on mindset, we'll coach them. I provide coaching for everybody on my team. We have master coaches that come in and take both our ISA and our salespeople through that course. Our value proposition for a team blows away, quite frankly, and I don't care. I'm saying it on the pod. It blows away any of the teams that are out there. I have people that come in here and go, "Oh my God, this is what I was looking for, and I'm not getting it from my market center." Even within a Keller Williams brokerage, where they're not getting what we do and what we provide. And we give away secret sauce every Monday and Friday at 9:30 to 10:30, and we invite those newer agents in to see what it's like to be a part of it. And one of them came and said to me the other day, "Oh my God, this is what I've been searching for, and I was ready to leave the industry because I couldn't find what I need." It's difficult business to break into. So if you have the right mindset and you want to be a part of something that's larger than you, that you can be a part of, trade on our reputation in the market, trade on all of our secret sauce, our situational coaching, our mentoring, our systems, our algorithms, our marketing. I mean, Hope's marketing is, like I said, state of the art. We just do things differently than other people do. And I think that's our second tagline, Alex, that we've always had, which is, all agents are not the same, and doing business with a business person in the business of real estate, and who you work with matters. So with 93% of the business being done by 7% of us, 98% of all leads coming from the internet, and where we harvest and market there on 365, 24/7, the value proposition that we can show somebody is absolutely amazing. If they're looking to succeed, we can exponentially help them do that. So anybody out there in the world, contact Alex, contact Mario, or give me a call. We would love to talk to you about a career in real estate.
Yeah. Along with that, three things that I heard. One, what I would love to know, how long does it take for you to determine, okay, you're definitely part of this team, I can see a future with you, or this is not for you?
What I can answer you correctly is that if they're, let's say on a 1 to 10, if they're a 9, do you guys know the story about the David and Michelangelo?
No.
So Michelangelo carved the David, which is, of course, available to see in Italy.
Also, and by the way, also in Las Vegas, there is an exact replica at Caesar's Palace.
Okay, there you go. So the story goes that Michelangelo said, I did not wake up one morning and say, I'm going to carve a statue called the David.
Mhm.
He was in the rock quarry and he saw the stone. And inside the stone, he saw the David.
Yes.
So his job was to release the David from the stone.
Mm.
So I like to tell that story because when I look at a potential, generally, if I'm not lying to myself or wanting to believe something other than what I see, in the first 2-3 weeks or 30 days, I will be able to mark them worthy of possibly bringing on the team. In the worst case scenario, we have a policy in KW, which we call 30, 60, 90.
Ah.
So even if we hire somebody, the first 30 days, that job is ours to teach them. By
Okay.
day 58, that they should be taking that job away from us and saying, this is mine. I got it. And by day 90, they should be coming up to us and telling us what we think we need to do, what we think we need to change, how can we make it better. So I would say to you that we kind of go with the 30, 60, 90, but we're going to know if somebody's got a light on right away in 30 days. And then we'll see what they're willing to do and give and commit to in order to take their career to the next level. Because having the brains and having the ability is different from having the mindset. And having the mindset and having the ability is different from executing on it. So generally speaking, 30, 60, 90, but we've had people that we loaded up for bear in less than 30 days.
Amazing.
And just said, these guys are right, let's get them on the team.
The second thing I heard you said that 80% of the leads come from the internet.
98%.
98%, excuse me. So tell us more about that, because we just came back from this conference in what was it, Vegas, and I was still talking to agents in the industry. Inman, right?
Yeah.
10, 20 years and said, no, I don't need to be online. I have no presence. I don't care about that stuff. And here you're telling me 98% of all leads come from the internet. What do you know that they don't know still?
So I know Alex is familiar with the term, and the bottom line is Gary Keller and I buying into it. People either have a lead problem, and if they don't have a lead problem, they have a conversion problem. So if you have all the leads you need and you're not converting them and turning them into revenue, you have a conversion problem. Aggregators are out there. There isn't anybody that's not in the ancillary real estate business. I mean, look at the empire that Alex has built just off of ancillary real estate services without being in the real estate business per se as an agent.
Yeah.
Still want you to place your license somewhere. But all that aside, I think the key is really, I tell the story with my agents, and I say that if we were in the Colosseum in Rome, and it was during the days of gladiators, right? You're going to walk through a stone tunnel, and on the way out, there are various weapons. You know, there's a pitchfork, there's a sword, there's a mesh rope, there's shields, and you're going out there to defend your life. Because I look at this business from a military perspective as well. Not that I'm military, but my brain tends to work that way. I said, when you walk out that chamber, you've got to pick a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care which weapon you pick, but know for sure that you're going out there and you're going to need to defend yourself in the business world. So I think it's really important that people understand what those weapons look like. And there is no doubt in my mind that if you're an agent that has been a longtime agent and has a sphere of influence that feeds you and you're not looking to grow, great. But if you're looking to grow, you need to use every one of those weapons or find people that have those weapons that are going to fight along with you. And social media is the major weapon in my mind. That's how the aggregators build their business, get leads and resell them out to realtors who need to afford to be able to purchase them in order to generate their business. So there may be somebody who feels that that's an exception. Again, I'll quote my visionary because kind of most of the stuff that he talks about, you know, I buy into, not because I buy into it because I drank the Kool-Aid, because it just makes sense. And
Mhm.
Gary Keller said several years ago, you will not be replaced by technology. You will be replaced by an agent who embraces technology. And so you either embrace technology or you have a bullseye on your back. Not that we don't have a bullseye on our back anyway, because when you're running in front of the pack, there's always, you know, your back's to the crowd. So that always brings on its own particular stuff. But we take that challenge well and take point and run with it. So I think that anybody that disavows the validity of social media has basically just gotten into a formula where they feel they have enough business. Look, don't forget, this is the only business in the world where you can make as much or as little as you want.
Yeah.
You want another pair of Jimmy Choos, you know, you can work and make your 40, 60, 80. You want to talk about a time-life balance and, you know, pick up 100, you know, you kind of do whatever you want to do. It's like, you know, a game, and you just have to decide what your risk-reward ratio is. No different than you would be looking at a stock portfolio, right? You want high risk, you're going to get a high reward. You want low risk, low reward. So I think it's basically the same. But to count social media out of your weaponry, to me, that's just somebody who doesn't want to grow and doesn't want to look at the market for what it is.
Now, here's another one that I heard, which is rarely heard. So far, I don't think any of our guests have mentioned this. You talked about the spiritual side. You're like, what is that all about? How much of that is part of your business?
Well, we have core values in Keller Williams again, and I have my own core values, and they're in alignment, which is why I was able to join the company and build a business. You know, it's win-win or no deal. That's one of our main mottos. And bottom line is, we believe in coming from contribution. And my favorite line is, may he rest in peace, the Kenny Rogers song. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. There's time enough for counting when the dealing's done. We never walk into a deal with commission breath. We walk in with a servant's heart to take people on a journey that we know better than them. Look, when I went to Israel on my honeymoon, I hired a guide. I could have walked around with a guidebook, but I hired a guide. Why? Because I'm going on a journey, and I want to go on a journey with somebody. You know, we do that journey 206 times a year. So, you know, we know what it's like. If you were going to go out in the woods with Tread Barter, and you're out in the woods at night and you hear a twig break, he knows whether it's a dog, a mouse, or a bear. And, you know, he's seen it before, he knows it before. So we feel that if we come from contribution, if we come with a servant's heart, if we come with knowledge and professionalism, we are consultants. We're not sellers. We stay away from commission breath. Our game is to take people from one point to another, just like a Sherpa or a guide, whatever it is, to take them on a journey that we have already been through the labyrinth 206 times, and we know how to take them there. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, sometimes they fight us, but generally speaking, we always come from it. And one of the things that we always say up front is that if someone is your advocate, it's not always that you're going to hear from them what you want to hear. But if I'm your advocate and I'm really doing my job, you're going to hear what you need to hear. Whether you listen or not is your choice. But we will not allow ourselves to be intimidated in our client relationships and offer them the wrong advice, or take a different way around, or take a deal that we don't think is right for them to take, or be able to get them where they want to go. Our mission is to take them through that journey, deposit them into a safe harbor. That will be our monopoly money. That's where we get the money. Is the byproduct at the end of the day. We're really not talking about commission. We're just talking about reward for service.
Amazing.
So I got a question for you. So you talked before about accountability and mentoring, and you know, you don't have time for the accountability part. They got to come ready to go for that, but you do provide coaching. What about for yourself? Like, who are your mentors? Do you have people holding you accountable? What's your structure?
I do. I have two coaches that I meet with weekly. and various parts of my company are also, certain people are also in coaching. But yeah, I have two coaches that I work with on a weekly basis. They're both excellent. And so I'm a different kind of cat. So I think that they approach me from accountability from a different point of view. I think at some point I have credibility, and basically it's more a sounding board, and discussing checkpoints and goals along the way. So I've been deemed, I thought I was not coachable, but I have been deemed coachable by my coaches. So
How long have you had your coaches, or which one's
yeah,
been
so
the longest?
one of them is about 2.5 years, and the other one is about a year and a half.
And what would you say is the thing that they chiseled away to get to your David or your Barry?
You know, I kind of know my own mistakes before I make them, and so we have a lot of conversation about them and the direction and what I need to do. I will tell you that, Alex, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, I was not as in touch with my numbers. My feeling was, like many people, if you throw enough, you know what, against the wall, it's going to stick. I can tell you every one of my monthly numbers. I can tell you without running a P&L, you know, where I am and what those numbers like and what I'm going to make or not make. So I've completely changed in respect to being numbers conscious. We have an economic model that we work with. We have an organizational model that we work with. And so much like consultants to me, I basically tell them what my vision is. They make me look at the vision, and then we try to break it down into components. And then we review and analyze, where are we? Where are we now? Does this model still work? Do we need to tweak it, change it, improve it? How do we improve it, et cetera? So the accountability there is, again, more organic and based on mutual respect. And they know that, you know, on a high level, nobody, I'm still the one that's, you know, working 20 hours a day. So at the end of the day, they know it's not from lack of input. So if we feel that we need to tweak the model, change it around, reanalyze who's doing what, is this plan working? Is it not working? How does it fit into our overall game plan? It's more like high-level discussions with people whose opinion I respect, rather than a strict accountability. I call it guidance from above.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. And you talked about 20-hour days, Barry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So ultimately, I think that one of the equations that we didn't talk about before is you have to love what you do. I love what I do. There are days that we hate it, just like all of us. There are days where things go wrong. But in essence, I'm passionate about what I do. You cannot excel if you don't have passion. So we're service based. So you know, it'll be very common for me to come into meetings at 7 o'clock in the morning, leave the office at 6, 7 o'clock at night, and go home and work till 12, 1, 2 o'clock. I mean, it can happen, you know. So now I can tell you that my marketing director,
I've gotten texts from you at least 12:01 a.m.
and you responded. So
yeah,
He was up too.
I was up too, for sure.
Yeah. So ultimately, you know, we all look for that life balance. But again, I think, you know, you got to love what you do, and if you love what you do, you know, they say you never work a day in your life. But you know, it's still a lot of hard work, and but we're looking at that too now, because there's 7 levels in the organizational model of Keller Williams, and at the 7th level, the rainmaker is pressure testing the system for him to be out of it for months at a time and working on ancillary businesses. So We're
Mhm.
somewhere around the 6th level, and
Mm-hmm.
we're looking to get it to that point. And what that requires is building the hub, building the team so that that business can be pressure tested and run without it. Will I ever not be pulling the marionette strings? Like, you know, look, as long as I'm alive and well, I intend to cast the vision for the team, but have others, you know, try to focus and execute it at a high level and get them involved at a high level so that they can be involved and run their own. We have agents that will basically build their own pods and have a team within a team. So there is no limitation in our team. If you
Yeah,
want to grow your own team, you can grow your own team within the team. So, you know, we encourage growth at all levels.
there you go. Well, Alex, can you speak to that? I think that's key. Like in our company, Real Greater, we're all about that expansion and putting in the time now because we're building a huge future. But at the same time, we emphasize on the 80-20 rule. We're actually training our team members on identifying those areas that produce the most rather than wasting time on everything else that doesn't produce the most.
100%.
What
Yeah,
are you?
so 80-20 rule is a great rule. It guides most businesses. It's a little different, in my opinion, in real estate, like i.e. the 93-7, like i.e. 40% or 45% of our business is from agent to agent referral, which you could obviously call B2B if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But I think the main game is to find your niche, set the direction of your journey. And, you know, again, a journey is a plan. Just because you decided that you're going to drive from New York to Las Vegas doesn't mean that somewhere along the line you stop. Doesn't mean somewhere along the line you decide to divert through St. Louis. It's okay to adjust the journey as long as you're not aimlessly waiting for divine inspiration and you're taking control of your destiny. I'm a firm believer in progress over perfection. Get it started. Don't wait till it's perfect. Get at it and chip away at it as you go. You can always change direction if it doesn't work or if you see a better way. But, you know, beginning something has genius and magic in it, and you need to have that genius and magic in order to get moving.
So now pointing to that, I would love to ask you a question. First, sharing about our journey and then hearing a little bit how it was for you. At the beginning with Real Greater, we were kind of like playing it safe. We were doing the things we know to do, and we're trying to keep our customers happy and just maintain the business. And then all of a sudden, we realized if we want to grow, we have to expand. We have to adopt new technologies, adopt new mindset. Basically, we overhaul the entire system, and that was risky. But then what we did is we just took action right away. I know, Alex, you started doing all these things. You went to these conferences, you took on click funnels, CRM systems, all these things. And then we took action, but then we found like a lot of the action we took, it was just a learning lesson. Like we got no results from it. Just money, time, and lots of effort. But in the end, we learned, okay, great, that doesn't work. But now we know what not to do. And then we got to speed up. I was wondering, how was it for you, your journey? Like, what were some of the lessons? Did you waste a lot of time? Did you learn a lot? How was it?
So just like, again, the expression that Gary uses, I don't want you to think I'm a Mooney, but again, a lot of the shit makes sense to me. So, it's all about failing forward. So if you're failing forward, that's a good thing. We all learn more from adversity than we do necessarily from pin the tail on the donkey. But it's kind of interesting, Mario, because when we sit down and we do an intake with a buyer, we basically tell them that this is a process of elimination. This isn't we hit the nail on the head. Often we do, because I could work with someone that basically talk to them for 10 minutes. I could write down on a piece of paper where they're going to buy a home, fold that paper up. They could look at 12 cities, 500 homes, and I guarantee you in probably 80% of the cases, if I open up that paper that we did on the first day, that's where they're going to buy a home. But ultimately, we explain to them it's like going into a pub and there's a dartboard, right? The first darts are going to go in the wall. They're not even going to go in the board. And then the next darts will go into the board. And the next darts will go into the black or the white, and then eventually green and red. So it is a process of elimination. And I tell them, I will learn more from what you don't like than what you do like. So give me the feedback to do that. So I think that coincides kind of what you're talking about. Progress versus perfection. You fail forward, you make changes, you learn from adversity, and you trim your sails and face the wind.
There's a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, I think what I've learned that has really opened us up is that every time we fail or we think we're failing or failing forward, there's actually an opportunity there. There's a learning opportunity, and it's all on the way. It's like the first CRM, Mario, that we hooked up. The team was like, "What, are you crazy? We're not going to use this thing. It's so much work." And now they live by it, right? The first system we used internally was Slack. The team was like, "No freaking way we're using Slack." And that one didn't work for us, but then it got us into Facebook Workplace, and now everybody loves Facebook Workplace. So it's like even the systems that you try actually lead you and open you up to trying systems. And then you find the right system, and then it hits, and then it starts to work. And it's the same thing with marketing. It's like you find the right marketing. If you're doing no marketing, well, what are your chances, right? But if you fail on a few marketing tests, that's when you'll actually learn what the opportunities are. And like we just did a big mistake in our company, and we learned from it. And we created all these new policies and procedures, and now it's rocking and rolling again. So I'm always looking at, like, when things aren't working, most people go, "Oh man, this sucks."
Right.
And I'm looking at it as like, okay, I know there's an opportunity here. I'm just waiting for it to show up. And then it's like, oh, there's the gold. We got the gold out of it. Good.
Yeah. I think, again, like you said, it's fail forward. But what I do think is also, and I don't have to, you can quote any of the brilliant minds in our industry, whether they're the John Maxwell's or Tom Ferry, I mean, whoever, Dave Ramsey, I mean, these are all icons in our world. And at the end of the day, everybody's basically going to tell you that you're a product of the company you keep. And so I kind of marry that with the old line again, like, if you're not the lead dog, the view is always the same. Who you associate with and how far you go up the ladder and who you talk to at that ladder. And if you're open and exchanging and having mindset and knowledge based, you're going to continue to grow. So we go back to what we talked about as far as the criteria. It's about knowledge base. So if you're in search of knowledge, if you're in search of excellence, if you're in search of growth, if you're in search of making yourself a better person than you are today, tomorrow, those things are all going to come as the reward. The universe is going to support you in that. And that ties back to, Mary, what we were talking about on the metaphysical level, right? It's about being in the stream, being in knowledge, being immersed in knowledge, and going ahead and being able to work with like-minded people that have like-minded mindsets and like-minded philosophies. And that's, again, something that we look for on the team. And someone that's basically saying, "Hey, that's me, but I don't know how to get there." You don't know how to get there? Give me a call. We'll show you how to get there. We'll help you get there.
So one more question before we go. The young generation, people in their mid-20s, 30s, approaching 40s, who think they have a faster route to get there, who think, people who are more traditional values, they're obsolete. They're doing stuff the old school way when there's all this technology, social media, all these things. They think they can just skip the steps. What are your thoughts in terms of the young real estate agents?
So, look, it's a millennials world. So I think to deny the fact that they exist and that they're a big part of our economy and our business is wrong. I think that the real diamond in the rough is someone who has the work ethic that I do and the mentality of a current millennial. So there are millennials who I think we would all describe as entitled or different, or have a different work time life balance situation going on. But ultimately, show me somebody who has the technology and the expertise of being a millennial, we'll just use them as, because this could apply for Gen X or whomever, right? But if they have the mentality and they have the best assets of that era, and they have the work ethic of wanting to exceed and be knowledge-based versus one of entitlement, that's the guy I want to hire. That's the guy who's going to be your lottery ticket. So those are the people that I want to align myself with. And even with my organization, I say, you know what, guys, if you don't want to do what I do because I have to do what I have to do to take the company where I want to take it, you show me a better way, and I'll let you lead, and I'll back you up. But you got to show me the better way. And inadvertently, I think the majority of the people that are going to do that are people that have that same similar work ethic in the back of their head, where they want to be knowledge-based and exceed, and they're not afraid to roll up their sleeves and get it done. And I think there's a famous quote, I'm sure Gary and everybody else has used it, is, you know, we don't hire somebody to do what we tell them to do. We hire somebody to tell us what they think we should be doing that we're not doing. And if they're not going to speak up, if they're not going to contribute, and I don't call it ruffling up, I just call it adding. If they're not going to add their particular value or net worth, they're probably not going to stay with me long. People don't leave companies. People leave leaders. People leave people. They don't leave companies. They leave people. And I think, you know, my job is to try to be the best leader I can, set a good example, do what I do, and I'm constantly working on myself. So if I'm a work in progress, I would expect them to be as well. But I expect them to have some input and not mirror what I want done. But if there's a better way, show me a better way. I'm wide open to it.
That is amazing. That's huge. We're actually going through some of those transitions in our company, people leaving, people coming. But I love what you said about they're not leaving the company, they're leaving us. Something about us, they're like, I'm not up for this anymore. And we're curious about that, actually.
You know, I got some of that through my coach too. So like, you know, somebody was leaving the organization, and I wanted to have what I call an exit interview. And they said, don't ask them questions to intimidate them from leaving. Ask them questions so that you can gain something out of the experience. Like Alex said, what can I learn from it? What about my management style did you like? What didn't you like about my management style? What are the main reasons that you're leaving? Was there something that we could have done that would have prolonged you staying at the company? And the idea is to gain that knowledge and fine tune the David.
One last question. Sorry, I'm excited. Hey, do you sleep well at night?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a sleep apnea situation, which I'm working on.
Okay.
But technically, I sleep well if you're talking in the metaphysical sense. You know, can I look in the mirror and sleep well at night? Yeah. Do I wish I could get 7 or 8 hours straight? Yeah, but I don't know if that's on target for me at 72 years old. But yes, I sleep well. I look in the mirror. I wake up every morning and say, it's a brand new day. How do I make it a better day? What can I do to make it a better place to live in? A better place for my team, a better place for me, a better place for our clients. So, you know, I'm kind of devoted to what I do, how I do it, and how I can improve it. And devoted to our team and the people that are on it. You know, we have to build an umbrella that they can build their lives as big as they want and still stay under that umbrella. That's basically what we're looking to do and create.
Beautiful.
And my last question is, are we going to see a book from Barry Paley about a businessman who did the business of real estate?
So what they want me to produce is a book of Barryisms, because I have so many of them. That may come out first. Of course, I want to write a book that basically says you can't make this shit up, and you know, war stories that we've told. But I would love to write one of these days, and that's another thing about Keller Williams. We didn't get a whole lot into the model today, and I know we have limited time, but the wheel of opportunity in this company. I mean, you know, if I want to go out of transactional tomorrow, I can do anything in real estate. I can coach, I can teach, I can recruit, I can refer, I can build my downline, I can build my profit share, I can coach. The wheel of opportunity in Keller Williams is such an incredible scenario, and no other company on the planet do I know that could do that. So writing, teaching will definitely be part of what I'm looking to do.
Excellent.
As part of my back game.
And we'll be on your side whenever you say, hey guys, what you got for me? Build my online presence, build this new Barry, and share the
Appreciate
win.
it.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I mean, call it a shameless plug, but Instacart has been a phenomenal weapon. If you want to talk about walking out to the arena, the Instacart has been a phenomenal weapon for us. I mean, where on the planet can I send my business card electronically via text or email, ask for reviews, present my testimonials? I mean, it's really just been a phenomenal tool. So kudos to you guys on that. And I wish
Thanks.
you guys all
You're
the
one of
luck in the
the
world.
you're one of the early adopters of it. I don't know if you know, but just this past Friday, we won the Miami Association of Realtors pitch battle for the Instacart.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Nice.
now
Congrats.
65,000 Miami members have digital cards right now.
I love it. You know, the truth of the matter is when you look at appraisers, they all have a number on their license, and obviously the lower their number, the longer they're in there. I wish you had numbered those. So you'll be able to see, you know, where
Probably
they came
did.
in.
We probably did number them actually. I probably
Oh,
have a
good.
unique identifying number. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
that's cool.
All right, guys.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
the opportunity. I hope
Thank you, Barry.
I hope you and your followers get a little something out of it. And shameless plug for us. If anybody's interested in a career in real estate that makes a difference and is different than any other one, please feel free to get in touch with me. We'd be more than happy to. We actually at Keller Williams here, we provide free education. So anybody that's not licensed, outside of paying for their own state test, we take care of everything, set them up, give them free education, free training, and sponsor them, and provide a world-class experience as far as culture, training, etc. So feel free to reach out to me, whether you're looking for a team or a single environment, whatever. And that means anywhere in the world. I mean, you know, right now, if I need to, I can tell you who the top 1% of agents are in every city and state and country around the world, and make sure that these people get with the right people to make a difference in their career. Because who you work with matters.
Thank you.
And what's the best way for them to contact you?
I guess either my email, barry@barrypaley.com, or my cell phone. You can shoot me a text at 516-503-4242. We would love to help change more lives, and that's what Keller Williams, and that's what we're about. So
Amazing.
either my cell or my email would work.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Pleasure.